Hello everybody and welcome back to the United Stand. The fan forum. Manchester United continue their winning run. Manchester United 3, Everton 1. Good to get through in the cup. Made it a bit difficult for ourselves, but we got there in the end. And I'm joined by the crew. We've got Charlie, Kev and Ricky. Charlie.
It's not a dab.
Yeah, it was.
He loves it.
First one in the studio, I have to do that one.
Yeah, first dab in the studio for Kev. But Charlie, let's get started with the game. And first of all, we're going to Wembley. Second of all, what did you make of it?
It's a win at the end of the day. I thought Martial was outstanding. We can get into that. I think the only thing he hasn't done is put the ball in the back of the net. Some infuriating moments, but I think we're on a journey, and it's just a win at the end of the day, and that's what you've got to do to get through cup competitions. Exactly.
I mean, Kev, I was on the edge of my seat quite a lot in that game, especially the last 10 minutes. I thought this is going to go either way. I was just thinking, please not a replay. With that goal of getting ruled offside. What did you think today? Why did we struggle so much with kind of putting the game to bed so early?
I think it's a difficult game. I listened to something Ricky said that he put out on his Instagram before this, and it's a tricky tie. Everton, I think a lot of United fans would have looked at the Brighton result midweek and thought this is going to be easy. And a lot of us might have gone for 3-0s, 4-0s, thinking it's going to be a bit of a walkover. It doesn't always work out that way, especially if you've got players that want to play for Frank Lampard. They obviously read the papers, they know what's going on, he's under pressure. So I think they showed a bit of a fighting spirit today. That's the only way I can put it. For me, the result is the main thing. That's all that matters at the end of the day, is that Manchester United will be in that draw on Monday. That's the buzz. And yeah, it's great, isn't it? I mean, I'm listening to all the fans outside there walking out from the ground singing "We Go to Wembley." It's that buzz. I'm sure it's probably Ricky starting it all off like, but it's great. It's great to be in the hat for the next draw. You want to be in it. I'm sure we'll get into the game and that, but it's the win.
No, we're not going to talk about the game, Kev. But no, Ricky, that's why you were late. You were starting the Wembley chants. No. First of all, are you confident that we can keep this run going throughout the cup competitions? Because it's important for Eric Ten Hag to do a good cup run in his first season at Manchester United. And second of all, were you nervous towards the end there? Were you happy with the way we played?
Answer to your first question, I'm pretty confident we can do well, but you do need to look at a draw in the cup. If we happen to draw City away or Liverpool away, I'm not saying it's impossible for us to get through, but we wouldn't be favourites. So it's as simple as that, really. You need to look at a draw. But if we just draw in, like we're lucky enough to get Charlton in the League Cup quarter-final, we should get through that. Always say you don't know, but we should get through that. And we need to look at a draw in the FA Cup now as well. On tonight, was I nervous? Absolutely I was. The substitutions of Casemiro and Martial at the same time. I know he's really keeping Martial in. I think it's the first time he's took Casemiro off so early.
It is.
But Martial, he takes him off sometimes with half an hour to go, usually with 20 minutes to go, and he did it. And I didn't think he would tonight. That game was in the balance at 2-1. A couple of lads behind me were sort of saying, he'll take him off next, and he'll take him off. And I turned around to him and said, it's only 2-1, it isn't 3-0. It isn't 3-0.
You get a lesson taught by Ricky. And before you know it, they've got the ball in the net. And I saw him make his run down the wing where he was given offside and sat there watching it live. I didn't think he was. I just didn't think he was offside. So I thought it was 2-2 there for quite a while until VAR interrupted. And we'd already made the subs then. You can't bring them back on. I know.
Everton would have had a great chance of winning that, or certainly getting a replay out of it had that goal stood. So there's a bit of luck involved as well.
It did seem a bit early to make many changes. It was too early for Harry Maguire time anyway, especially like you say when a game's 2-1 and it's so contested and close, and you think, but
when I was in the ground, I actually texted one of my friends. I said these subs are going to kill us off, because I just thought, like you guys, it was too early. And Ten Hag, you've seen, he's quite a risky manager in that sense when it comes to making substitutions. In the end, it worked out. I think he had an eye on the games coming up, but he immediately got Martinez ready anyway after that goal got ruled out.
Yeah, he did. The thing about Maguire's substitution, it was a bit later in the game, and we were under the cosh at that stage. We really were. So that was slightly different. When he took Casemiro and Martial off, we came under the cosh after that. So I thought those 2 substitutions were the risky ones.
Maguire's purely height, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think you expected Everton then pumping long balls in, so you get Maguire in there.
He went full on Sean Dyche mode, didn't he, in the last 10 minutes of the game, which, you know what, we ended up getting the results, so it worked out. And we've got a super chat in here from Diz Fender Bouge saying, Ricky, how about Rashi? He is levels. Is he world class? Everyone in the comments is saying Rashford is world class. I think Mark sent them over to infiltrate the chat. But Ricky, do you want to answer his question?
He's not world class, no. World class.
He's on his way, isn't he?
He's playing well. He's definitely better. We had an interesting chat. I thought about this after the show the other night, where we were speaking about Casemiro's comments about, is he one of the, he could become, he didn't say he is, he said he could become one of the best 5 players in the world. And I said it'd be great if he was one of the best 5 players in Manchester. And I named loads of City players. But I'll put this to you 3. Everybody always thinks of forwards. I mean, look at our own team. Is he better than Shaw? Is he better than Casemiro? Is he better than Martinez? He's not even. He's not one of our best 5 players, I don't think.
He's not world class.
People always look at strikers. Do you think he's better than Luke Shaw at the moment?
He's on a par.
Do you think so?
Near enough. What he's providing to the games. Like today, I don't think we would have won that game without Rashford.
Those words, world class, are so flippantly used and so easy. Oh, he's world class. He's world class. World class for me is a player that walks into any team in the world, any top team, and can command a place. Now, I'm not knocking Rashford. I'm not saying for 1 minute, but if you're going to define world class, for me, Rashford doesn't walk into any team in the world.
I don't think he's world class currently, but I think he's on his way. I think.
You can definitely. He's on the up.
Yeah,
definitely under Eric Ten Hag.
He did something. I said before the show, didn't I, that I want to mention something.
Go on.
He did something tonight that I mentioned the other night when I said he keeps getting into positions where he should just crash it into the box. If you get close in, just crash it across the box because it can go in off anybody.
Yeah.
And he's done it tonight. It's almost feel as though he's watching. Do you know what I mean?
I'd seen that goal and I was actually thinking of Ricky straight away, and I thought, there you go. Ricky's going to be going.
I've got to give him a massive pat on the back though, because that's where his weaker foot.
Yeah.
Please, when you're on the right, do it more often with your right foot.
And do you know who did the same thing for Everton, Damari Gray?
Yeah.
When Calvert-Lewin scored the goal, just drills the ball across the goal.
Even though he's right-footed, we've had two goals tonight from balls in from the left with a left-footed ball in. We had a goal the other night from Garnacho, and I think Garnacho's left-footed, is he? Or is he?
No, he's right-footed.
Right, but he plays on the left, doesn't he?
Yeah.
But he put the ball in from the right with his right foot. Suddenly, we've got 3 goals in 2 games with balls into the box with the correct foot from the correct flank. And I wouldn't be surprised, I don't know off the top of my head, I wouldn't be surprised if we haven't had 3 all season. And we've now had 3 in 2 games. So they're starting to do it. But I'd love to see it happen with a right-footed player doing it. I'm sure it'd work even more, a right-footed player on the right and a left-footed player on the left. Antony tonight, he's never got the hang of it. He won't put a ball in from that side. There was one situation, I'm sure you'll remember it, where Dalot got the ball on the corner of the box and he fed it in behind the full-backs and he didn't make the run. I'm half convinced that he doesn't make that run because he doesn't want that ball there, because it's going to be on his right foot and then he's got to crash it across the box with his right foot. He don't want to do that. He wants to get it on his left.
With Antony, we'll move on to him in a minute because I think it should be a whole other discussion, but I am genuinely confused with how bad his right foot must be. Because I think he must be able to do something with it. He never goes on it, and it's so frustrating. It's killing our attacks a lot of the time. It's really killing our attacks, but we'll get on to that. I just want to kind of talk about Rashford for a second. And Rob Dawson's actually put out a tweet which is interesting. This is the first time Rashford has scored in 5 consecutive games for United, now 13 for the season. Best total is 22 in 19 to 20. He should pass it if he stays fit. It could be Marcus Rashford's best ever season under Ten Hag. Charlie, how important is he becoming to this team now, and how excited are you the way he's improving under Ten Hag? Every game, better and better, more running, more work rate, making better decisions, like you said.
I think the main thing for him is if he doesn't score, it is still having that good performance, because he is a huge confidence player, I think, and that will. If he does have a bad game, that probably will. I mean, I hope it doesn't, but it might affect then further games. But I think Eric Ten Hag has clearly worked wonders with him in comparison to the previous season. And we're obviously discussing whether he's world class or not. And I think, as you say, that word is put to use way too often. There is, there is probably 10 world class, like, you know, that would walk into kind of any team.
Well, Beth's just said, it's the first time he scored, 5 goals in a row?
5 consecutive.
And people are saying he's world class.
Yeah.
You know, there are genuine world class players that score.
I'll call him world class if he scores in the derby next week.
We have
the game.
We have got to remember.
Well, yeah, changed my opinion. Then.
We have got
we'll put him in the world class bracket then.
We have got to remember, you know, it was 8 months ago. A load of people did want to sell him. There was that conversation, and yes, he has improved so much, but I do feel like he has a way to go before that world class.
I was one of them at that stage.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of United fans were. You got to the end where you thought, well, there's been no improvement. If United can get a decent enough fee for him, you know, it might be best for all parties. Maybe he needs a fresh challenge in himself. But fair play, he has rose to it at the minute.
He's important to how we're playing at the minute, and it's quite obvious that Ten Hag is relying on him in certain situations, and he's almost probably one of the first names on the team sheet when it comes to, you know, that decision. So, I mean, the more he keeps on scoring, I'm sure the better he is going to keep playing, because it's quite clear. And what's brilliant is that he stepped up and took that penalty off Bruno Fernandes, because you knew Bruno wanted it, but it's like Rashford's thinking, you know, I want to score, because again, that's great for my confidence. So. Yeah, it's brilliant. And
confidence, you have to look at the fact Bruno didn't have a great game again. I'm sure it's something we'll get into. But Rashford, for me, we'll get into man of the match in a bit probably, but, you know, was the best player out there for Manchester United today.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. And I think it was good for the team spirit as well that Bruno happily give it to Rashford. Obviously, he's looking at his goal tallies for the end of the season, confidence is growing, he's looking towards a team, and that's what a good captain would do. PJ's put a super chat in saying, listen to Ricky, he's the godfather. And then Alan Kenny has said, I have never understood how professional footballers can't use both feet. I mean, we'll get on to that in a second. But let's speak about Antony for a minute. I mean, Ricky, I'll actually come to you first on this one, because we were talking about it before, and we were saying we need to talk about this subject. I thought it was good for him to gamble to get that goal, and that was a positive at the start of the game. Great crossing by Rashford, I have to say. But for the rest of the game, I felt like he was constantly killing our attacks by either slowing it down by not being able to take it on his right foot and get to the byline, and his link up with Dalot didn't seem to be working at all. What did you make of it?
Yeah, I wasn't pleased with him, really. He's a strange sort of player. He does some really good things. His work rate's fantastic. He's great at getting out of little tight situations. He's got the ball at his feet. You think he can't get out of it, and he does a little drag back, or he turns away from someone and passes it off. So he's good. Obviously, he's not. You know, United are hopefully not going to. I suppose we have done once, but we're not going to give 80-odd million quid for somebody who can't play football to some extent. You know what I mean? So he has got some good things, but playing on that right wing and not wanting to get to the line and get the ball in with your right, I know I sound like a stuck record, but he's just cutting in. He cut in tonight and had a shot, and it was a pathetic shot that trickled through to the keeper. Do you know what I mean? I'd much sooner see him try and get round the outside and
if
get the ball.
If you're a defender, it's very easy to play against him, because you just show him onto his weaker side.
You can tell that's what Malenko was doing consistently.
There was actually that one time as well where he wasn't through on goal, but he got the ball in his own half, and he was probably 10 yards in front of that. Was it Onana or whatever his name is? And he knew, I think, where the kind of direction he was running at, he was going to have to use his right foot, whether it was to cross something, and he stopped, didn't he? And everyone had a little.
Everyone catches up.
There was a few groans in the crowd.
You know, I understand if you think you're going to get caught up by someone and you want to go on whatever your favoured foot is, then you've ideally got to cut in front of them and then hopefully get brought down for a free kick, or if you don't, then you're on your favoured foot. But he obviously chose to stop, and the fans didn't like it. Yeah,
it was one of them where I found myself getting as frustrated with the amount of times of Antony as much as I was with the referee, and that isn't right in the game, because he just kept doing things, and you can see how it's going to play out. And I just think to myself, Ten Hag really needs to kind of work on that, and I'm surprised he's not done anything about it yet. We'll have to see how things go on. But I mean, Rafael Varane managed it, didn't he? He got to the byline, nutmegged a player, and got across in. He did it, and I said in that moment, he's beat more players than Antony has tonight, and he's been on the right wing for how many minutes that went in. It was really disappointing to me. But Kev, I mean, the link up with Dalot as well. I don't think Dalot had a very good game today, if I'm being honest, but he is just coming back from injury, so I'll let him off. It's not the same chemistry as the likes of Shaw has with Rashford, is it there? Is that something that needs to be looked at? And Jadon Sancho must be looking at that thinking, I have an opportunity to get back in this team here. He's
got a huge opportunity, and when you listen to what Ten Hag's been saying kind of midweek, that he hopes to get Sancho back in this team. I think a lot of us want to see him because we haven't seen much of what he's about. Yes, at the start of the season, kind of hit the ground running, and then obviously with the World Cup and that, we have to see whether he'll come back. But it's a pivotal part of the team is the left and right hand side, and getting them little combinations, isn't it? A left back and a right back. You know, it wasn't long ago. What was it Paul Scholes said when he sort of put on his Instagram, wasn't it? Where are the days of defenders helping or wingers helping the defenders out? I'll defend Antony slightly tonight. There was a few instances where he worked back, and I thought, you know,
if he didn't do that though, you would be even more worried, wouldn't you?
Yeah. And at the same time with Antony, you kind of look at it and you think that Eric Ten Hag must know this player. You know, he's not sanctioned 80 million on him. So are we seeing not the finished article? Is the Premier League, has that taken him by surprise? Is it going to take him a bit of time to settle in? You know, you don't really get much time in the Premier League, do you? The games come thick and fast.
I'm a little bit disappointed that we've got a left-footed right winger and we've got our centre-back taking left-footed corners on the right wing. That's disgraceful. That is absolutely disgraceful. Can he not take a corner? The left winger, a left-footed winger, has got to be able to take a corner to the similar standard that Luke Shaw can take it. And when you've got your players out of position, if Shaw's taking a corner, putting it in the box, Shaw's the type of player who you need holding the fort. Do you understand what I mean? I know we obviously put somebody else there to hold the fort, but Shaw's perfect for that job. You know, perfect to hold the fort. So he's going to take a corner. Probably Antony's on the corner of the box, hoping for a short corner or the ball to come out to him. And if they get a breakaway, Shaw's out of position. Okay, Antony does work hard. He races. I think it actually happened once. I'll have to watch it again. I think it actually happened once where they got a breakaway from a corner and Antony had to race back and get involved
in
stopping him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I can't remember if that was his corner by Luke Shaw, to be honest. But it did happen, and I don't think we should have a centre half taking the corner, because he's playing centre half today. Don't forget. Taking corners, and you've got a left-footed winger not taking the corner. That's not good.
He is something that I would definitely want to look at for sure. And people corrected me in the chat saying Varane didn't meg him. From where I was sat, because I was actually watching it in the ground, it's hard to side. It's hard to see from where I am. All right, but if I'm
still a tasty bit of skill, right?
It was a good bit of skill for sure. But Antony's one of them where I'm not like worried about him yet. He's just frustrating me. I think he's got talent there. I just think he needs some direction. Hopefully Eric Ten Hag will sort him out soon. But we'll finish up like talking about our attackers actually, and we'll move on to Martial now. Charlie, you were saying before that you thought he was world class tonight. You thought he was brilliant.
Don't know if I said those two words.
What did you like about Martial's game?
I think honestly, and this is loads of people, especially a lot of our viewers, are screaming for João Felix that we want him. If you don't like what Martial does, then you're not going to like at all what João Felix does, because whether he does it better or worse, that is exactly what he's going to do. Martial was brilliant today, I thought, and I think Ricky's going to back me up on this in the sense of he did everything right apart from put the ball in the back of the net. Again, I sound like Ricky, but I have to watch it back to see how you know, clear cut of a chances that he had. But in my opinion, he led the line perfectly, held the ball up when he needed to, again tracked back when he needed to, and worked really hard. And yeah, I mean, is he coming off because you know, you're just wrapping him in cotton wool because you're expecting a possible injury, and you know, we've got some big games coming up. But no, I thought he was really, really good, and I had some people sat behind me giving him some proper stick, and I had to bite my tongue and kind of, you know, not say, I don't know if you're watching a different game at this point, but I thought he was really, really good.
You know what we need to do next game? We'll swap your seats. You can sit in them seats, Ricky, and then he won't bite his tongue.
Oh, Ricky definitely would be late to the fan forum after that. He'd be getting himself into some trouble. I've just seen a super chat here from Jermaine Johnson saying, Ricky, everything's inverted now. Look at City. And then people are saying Antony is an inverted winger. It's what he does. It gives us a different option. I mean, everyone's got different opinions. Take a shot every time Ricky says left footer on a left wing or right foot on a right wing. But Ricky, do you want to have your chance to respond?
I just want to come on to what he said there. It gives us a different option. Well, it's not a different option. It's the same whole time.
It's predictable, isn't it? It's the same thing. Over and over and over again.
And then Leo J says, I have a question for Ricky. When Martial is sharp and linking up with Rashford, they'll be smashing goals in, right? Do they have good link up? I think they work very well together.
Yeah, Martial's the fulcrum. He's the no, he really is. I mean, if you look, I mean, Rashford did great there. The you know, for the first goal where he played it across the face of the goal. Look at Martial's play to feed him. You know, there are more players around. I mean, Grealish did it last night. What Rashford did with that ball. There are more players around who can do what Rashford does than there can do what Martial does. That ball's played out to him. He brings it down. He's playing at number 9, by the way. They're playing with 3 centre backs. Don't forget. He brings it down. He turns one way. Somebody gets a foot in, it goes behind him, he twists back, he takes it off him again, and I think he beat a man then, and then played Rashford in down the wing. There are not many players around who can do what Antony Martial does. You need to trust me. If he was out of this team, the goals are flying in at the minute. You know, I was complaining not too long ago about us. We never score enough goals. Since he's been back in the team, he's not scoring them. He's not necessarily getting the assists. But he's so important, and we have. And trust me, it's not a coincidence, and it is a fact that the goals are absolutely flying in. We've got a 3 against... I know they're not the greatest of teams, but we often lose or draw with these type of teams. Regularly draw or scrape a win. You know, we've got 3 against Forest, 3 tonight. Who else do we get 3 against? We've got 3... We've had 3 threes recently anyway. A 2 against Burnley. Just 3 against Bournemouth. Just before the break, Villa played a strong team here in the League Cup. We scored 4 against them. We're suddenly a team that are scoring lots and lots of goals. And I believe that if Martial wasn't in the team, more than any other player, doesn't matter who's making the actual assist and who's actually scoring the goal, he's so important because he's the fulcrum. We're hitting with the ball.
Glue, Ricky.
He's the glue.
I tell you that there was
them goals will dry up if he's not in the team.
Well, I have to say, I think we're massively a better team with him playing centre forward than Ronaldo. And that,
there was one
instance
in the first half today when Ricky is right with that with Martial, that the goals will come. A lot of people will try to judge him on that, but there was an instance in the first half where Rashford had a shot that Pickford saved where it bounced in front of him. And when you watch the replay of that, the run that Martial does across the goal to take 2 defenders away, I think Antony splits the other side. He can't play either of them in, so he has a shot on target. You know, Pickford saves it, goes out for a corner. But them runs, Martial wasn't making them, but now he is. You know, it's a part of his game he's obviously had to work on. His hold-up play has certainly improved. But them moves, you have to do that, don't you? You can't stand static. You know, fans go mental at that kind of thing.
That stuff goes unnoticed, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know, especially when you're watching it on TV, it's something that you don't really. And even when you're watching it live, you know, like the people saying behind me, they're not noticing these runs that he's doing. And I thought actually when he came off, our attacks turned more into counter attacks, and naturally that's going to happen with kind of the flow of the game. But we didn't have that focal point to hit up top. It was, you know, if it was going to Rashford's feet, he was flicking it. It wasn't hold up and then link up that way. And it's one thing, just kind of relating back to the Antony issue. I thought Rashford and Martial have really good interlink and interchange in play, whereas I don't think Antony has that with Martial quite yet. He always likes to go backwards to Dalot or whoever's playing at that right back spot, or maybe to Eriksen or something. So, I mean, again, that comes with naturally just playing time, and then they haven't played together as much. But that's one thing I think Antony could improve on, is the interchanging play with Martial. When he does get, if he can't cross it in or he doesn't want to, then Martial's always an option. He's always in some weird bit of space that the defenders don't like him in. So
well, that's the thing. I give Martial a little bit of criticism last game because I just thought he could have done a little bit more. But today, like, even though he hasn't scored, I'm perfectly and beyond happy with his performance because of everything he did, like you said, for the team. I heard a few people saying, why is he constantly coming deep? He's coming deep. You can tell Ten Hag's worked with him on it. There's a reason he keeps doing it. He's bringing the defender out to give Rashford in the space behind. He is a very intelligent player, and I have to say, in games like this, or in a lot of games actually, he does a lot more work than a regular centre forward. I think in a lot of top teams as well, you'll see him get on the ball a lot more than a lot of other centre forwards. So it's just what the manager wants and how he wants to play the game. But when he plays like that, brilliant. I just like Ten Hag in his press conference, what Martial and Rashford need to do is need to stay focused and stay in the game at all times. Sometimes he floats in and out a little bit, but if he stays and plays like that, his quality is very, very good. We spoke about that numerous times before. But I mean, that kind of rounds up the forward line. I think that is the strongest forward line at the moment. Garnacho, though, coming on maybe, asking a few questions, didn't get much of the ball, but he's definitely getting more minutes. But we'll move on to David De Gea's performance tonight. And I don't want to be negative because in the end we actually won the game. There was a lot of standout performers and we're going to move on to them in a second. But I did want to come on to David De Gea. Just very quickly, Charlie, because it's nothing that really needs to be made an issue of. David De Gea has been brilliant for quite a while now. He made a little bit of a blunder. Do you think he's with his near post? He just needs to improve a little bit.
That's the only thing I've seen back because I didn't realise how bad it actually was. And I saw people on Twitter actually saying it's the worst piece of goalkeeping they might have ever seen. Like it is really bad. I don't know what he's. I can't even kind of justify what he's trying to do. It's not even like he's gone to kick it away and it's gone through his legs. I don't actually know how to even commentate on that. It was a weird thing, but hindsight, we've won the game. So, you know, we could be sat here absolutely destroying him if we drew or lost that game.
It's almost like a lapsing what do you call it, concentration when you're seeing it, because you're not used to it with David De Gea. You know, because he stood with his hand on the post. At first I'm thinking, has he lost his bearings? But he's got his hand on the post, so he obviously knows where he is. One of the moments, man, where he's probably thought, you know, have I left the cooker on at home? I might have done that. Next minute, Connor Cody's putting the ball in the net, and then he's thinking...
Someone just put in the chat, actually, he got bored from not having to do anything.
He made it a bit more interesting,
He's so good usually with his feet as well, isn't he? At saving that random shots.
Second half proved that, because he pulled off a great save with his feet. We're through the next round. I would have hated to have seen how fans would have reacted if this was a mistake that led to us exiting the FA Cup. But De Gea has saved us so many times over the year. I don't think it's even kind of an issue or up for debate, really.
Yeah, it's definitely not anything to worry about, in my opinion. I think I kind of overlooked it because of how good he has actually been recently. But moving on to another player that I thought, for me personally, did not have a good game, and it kind of showed I mean, he's got potential, but it shows the quality between him and Luke Shaw. Is Malacia. I mean, Ricky, he kept getting beat down that left-hand side, and I just didn't think he'd give much to the attack either. He was another one where Luke Shaw and Rashford usually have such a good connection. Malacia and Rashford weren't really linking up as well as Shaw and Rashford did, and I was thinking that Ten Hag should have made that Martinez substitution a bit earlier and switched Luke Shaw out to the left. He was getting hammered a bit down that side. Do you think that it is going to be Luke Shaw predominantly going forward?
Yeah, he's a thoroughly decent understudy, but he isn't Luke Shaw, is he? And he in the first half hour, I would say, he put a ball into the box that was miles away from anyone. It went straight to the keeper. I think he tried 2 cross-field balls. I think one went out for a goal kick and one went out for a throw-in. From I'm talking about when he was up into, you know, deep into their half. He tried 2 long balls that didn't come off. He's a decent understudy. It's as simple as that. I think the manager he's now played Luke Shaw at centre back 3 times out of 4. I think he really likes him there, and I really like him. I think he's playing brilliantly, and I think Martinez might have. You know, he might have had a fight on his hands getting his place back if we had a left back up to the standard of Luke Shaw. But I think we'll now see Martinez and Shaw playing after tonight. Malacia is decent. He's just decent and not a lot more.
He's got a bit of game time, hasn't he, recently? I think we know there's huge games coming up. Malacia is unless there's an injury, touch wood, you know, that Luke Shaw is going to be the left back, and Martinez gets a little bit of a rest again today after party time in Argentina, and then he'll hopefully be back 100%.
That's the one, isn't it? And a lot of people saying in the chat they thought Malacia was good. I don't have to agree on that one. I thought he was a weakness for us in a lot of times. He put a few decent tackles.
Do you know what it is? It's like Ricky just said, he's not Luke Shaw.
Yes,
and a lot of people now are going to compare. Yeah, he's not Luke Shaw. I don't think he'll ever be Luke Shaw. Luke Shaw's on another planet at the minute, the way he's playing. So
I just can't remember like any passes in the final third that I thought contributed at all. I thought
he's all around game.
Do you know what it is? When he's focused on defending, I think you lose him going forward. But he's a solid defender. Like if you need him for a game, he's good to come in. But he's so used to Luke Shaw being able to do everything. It is a little bit of a drop off. But I do think there's certain things where you can tell he's young and he's developing. But he did put in a few decent tackles. He wasn't bad. I just thought he was one of the people I was looking at thinking that substitution should probably be made right now. But I mean, I'm sure he'll get more game time potentially in the cup as well against Charlton. But Kev, Luke Shaw, centre back still. I honestly think he is the backup to Martinez now. I think he's secured himself as that. I mean, Maguire and Lindelof on the bench again. He played his strongest lineup for this game. It was obviously the more important game to him. well, I think he saw this as a must-win. The Bournemouth was obviously a must-win, but I don't think... I think he knew he could get by that game with the players that he ended up playing. So does that secure Shaw as backup left-sided centre-back to Martinez?
I think 100%. We said it in the last game. I said if Luke Shaw is playing centre-back and Harry Maguire is fully fit and raring to go and cannot get in that team, I don't see where Harry Maguire gets into that team. Luke Shaw's been brilliant, as Ricky has pointed out, but you would suspect that Luke Shaw will drop into left back. Martinez, like I say, is going to be the first teamer next to Varane. Varane is just in a different league of his own. You know, if we're going to compare, I don't know, Varane to Harry Maguire, it's Harrods and Primark, innit? You know, where are you going to go shopping? You know, you want the good stuff, you stick with Varane. He's an absolute Rolls Royce of a defender. He's been absolutely superb at Manchester United. And Varane and Martinez, a lot of people, Graham Souness or whatever he said, you know, about Martinez and his height being an issue. I think they complement each other. I really do. As a centre-back pairing, they've been absolutely brilliant.
Yeah,
I have to agree with you. I think Martinez...
I don't see where Harry Maguire fits in. I really don't.
5-minute cameo at the end, it seems like.
A bit of a run out against Bournemouth. If that's the level that he wants to be at, you know, to stay at United. It's things like coming on today, you know, straight for the captain's armband and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, come on, man, you know, we're going to have to go through this now, really, till the end of the season, aren't we? I don't.
While we're winning, I don't mind it, to be honest.
But we won.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. But I do think he has. If I was Maguire, I'd be thinking, right, and he's not obviously first choice, but I mean, Ten Hag uses him as an option, like today, to be a little bit more defensive sometimes. But he's not got a place in the starting 11, in my opinion, and I think everyone else's opinion as well. Anthony Tracy says, Ten Hag telling Maguire he can move on without saying it to him. Just pick Luke at centre-back to drive the message home, my manager. Yeah, well, there's no clearer message than that.
It is a message, it really is, isn't it?
It is an action that is showing you the door, basically. But, I mean... he did okay when he came on today. A few misplaced passes again. It's just not the quality of what we're used to with Varane and Martinez. But Charlie, I want to move on to the Casemiro substitution because we spoke about them substitutions being quite early. I was worried when that substitution came on. Ten Hag, I think, took a little bit of a risk in that substitution. But Fred actually did okay when he came on. What did you think that was? Why do you think Ten Hag did that? Again,
it's another hindsight thing for me. I think, look, he got more of a rest than we thought he was going to get, and since we've won, it looks great. But again, it comes down to, I think, when, like Ricky said, when him and Martial came off, you could see there was a difference in how we played and how confident we were. I don't think Fred did anything kind of wrong when he came on. I thought he did all right, but there is just kind of, you know, levels in comparison to both of them. But yeah, again, I'm happy for Fred to play as that, again, understudy, but I'd like to say that probably him and McTominay would start against Charlton, so it'd be interesting to see how that kind of pans out if they do. Maybe see a 90-minute performance from them both that, I don't know, gives Ten Hag a headache. I mean, probably not, but
I don't think
no, I don't know why I said it.
Try to be positive.
Yeah, no. I mean, yeah, there was a short intake of breath, wasn't there, when he came off? It was a bit like, oh, okay, wow, he's coming off, but look, we won the game at the end of the day, so it doesn't matter now.
It's weird because Ricky, Ten Hag said many a time he doesn't see Fred as a holding midfielder. He's more of he's a box to box. He's been played out of position in the past, but he was playing holding midfield in that game. You've been liking Fred coming on for his little substitution appearances recently. You've been giving him some positive praise. Did you think he was good for the team today? Did you think he did his role well?
I thought he did well, yeah. I think I said the other day that he seems to, Ten Hag seems to have got two or three players playing a lot better than I thought they ever could. Rashford's a case in point. Fred is doing okay when he comes on as a sub. There was one pass that I would love to have seen him play that was... it wasn't difficult and it was obvious to play it, and why I didn't play it was beyond me, and you'll remember it, I'm sure, where I think he won the ball back himself, and he won it when they were coming into our half.
Turned back, didn't
and Garnacho.
Yeah, I know which one you're on.
Garnacho's flying down the left wing with no full back there.
I know.
Just push it in front of him. It's so obvious, and it's not. I'm not asking. You know, I'm being deadly serious. I'd expect a decent Sunday League player to play that pass. I'm deadly serious. I've watched a lot of Sunday League football. You're standing there with the ball, you can see somebody running, there's no defender. Just put it in front of him. Yeah. Just put it in front of him, and he turned and played it across the field. I
think what he was trying to do, because it was coming towards the end of the game, I think he was trying to be safe, but I do think that was too good of a pass not
that's
to
too
put
safe.
through.
That's too safe.
Even too safe for Ricky, everyone.
I do agree with being safe, and I do agree with people behind the ball. But even when I think we got the penalty just before the whistle, didn't we? So we were leading 2-1 at this stage. So as much as you are playing for safety, you're also hoping for a breakaway to put the game to bed. And that was the perfect opportunity for that breakaway to put the game to bed, and he refused the opportunity. I don't know why.
I think one thing that Ten Hag has done is got him a lot more controlled as a footballer. Like, he used to make very rash decisions, he used to jump in, he used to get dragged out from position easily, just constantly kind of going towards the ball like it's a magnet. I think his positional play's got better. I think his calmness on the ball has got better. I think his passing's got better. And his touch as well. It's weird, like his touch used to bounce off him, he used to lose the ball constantly. He seems a lot more composed, I would say.
It depends what kind of instruction he's had, Fred, as well, isn't it? You know, we don't know what's been said on the side. It might have been keep it tight or retain the ball in the middle of the park.
The thing is, if that's the case, don't forget, we did get the penalty from somebody putting the ball in front of Garnacho.
Yeah.
Fred should have put that ball in front of Garnacho. No excuse.
Yeah. The one thing I would say, though, he seems to be ahead of McTominay at the moment, doesn't he?
He does, actually, yeah.
And that's first.
He does, and it is. But McTominay is only just back in. He's been injured, hasn't he? And he's been on the bench.
Yeah,
for
he's been ill
games.
As well. Yeah.
I think they'll both play on Tuesday night, don't you?
Yeah.
So do I. I would like to see McTominay have a game because he didn't really get involved much today.
I thought he did all right.
He did all right.
It wasn't anything bad. I just didn't see him get involved much. He didn't have much time.
The thing with Antony in a game like that, and obviously the same with Maguire, they did put a few high balls in, a couple of corner kicks, and you've got 6'2", 6'4" lads jumping for that ball. They did. An Everton player did get his head on one 6 yards out of corner, and it went out for a goal kick. But if you didn't have the 6'4" lads jumping for it, he might have scored it. Because the more like you've got challenging for it, even if he wins it, it's still difficult.
You've got to think about it, haven't you?
Yeah.
We've just got someone in the chat saying, I miss trampoline toes, Fred. I've really not seen him in a while. I'm really actually impressed with what he's doing. When that substitution was made, I was like, oh no, this is going to kill the game. But he held his role very well. I have to say, I was impressed. And do you know what else I noticed today, Ricky, when you were telling me about Eriksen's positional play and how he kind of does a good job defensively in that way? I thought in the first half especially, he was brilliant at like nicking little balls like that. So a good game from him. But Charlie, I mean, actually, no, I'll go Kev on you, because you mentioned that Bruno, you didn't think he had a good game today. I actually thought he was okay. Don't think he was anything special. I don't think he was poor. What made you think he didn't have a good game?
I think this has been a run of games where I get what you said in the last show about Bruno Fernandes, that he's all action, he's looking to make things happen on the pitch, and that's fine, but there does come a time when you kind of look at it, I think it's a really important part of that team. That is the link up really between the midfield and the forwards of trying to thread balls through. And I don't know, Fernandes, to me, he looks very frustrated. I know he got a yellow card today, rightly so as well, a bit of a stamp down the back of the ankle, and just cut a bit of a frustrated figure. I don't know what it is with Fernandes sometimes when he's got the armband on. It should inspire him to be this kind of leader and that, but I do think he's bang out of form at the minute.
I think he is a leader, and I know people agree with me. I don't think he's in form. I don't think he had a good game. I don't think it was awful, but I think giving Rashford the penalty was something a leader would do. I think on the pitch he's always talking to everyone. He runs more than everybody else. He would run. The one thing about Bruno is even if he has the worst game, I can tell you he's ran more than anyone else on that pitch.
Can't fault him for that.
That's what I like about him. But I do think something's got to give here. Like, he does need to get himself back into form. I can't remember the last time he scored.
He has played in a World Cup, hasn't he? He's come back straight into it.
He was great in the World Cup, though.
Yeah. So
it was weird.
But then there's other players that haven't they? That have played in the World Cup and they've hit the ground running. So
maybe
it's horses for courses or something. I don't know.
The one thing I did want to go around and ask everyone. I know the City game is quite a while ago. A while away. I mean, it's only a week tomorrow, actually. It's just because we've got Charlton in the middle. And we will move on to Charlton in a minute, but while we're talking about the midfield, I just want to ask something. City at home, Would you all still play a midfield of Bruno, Eriksen and Casemiro? Would you keep Bruno and Eriksen in that midfield against City? You said how important the midfield's going to be. We'll start with Charlie, would you?
Yeah, I think it's just important what the wingers do, actually. I think, to be fair, I think it's they've got to be willing to almost, when we're defending, to come in as left midfield and right midfield, and then have you play as sort of like a 5 midfield as well, and kind of use that way. I think that's definitely our best midfield 3. But it'd be interesting to see, you know, tactically, we've got to do, well, we can't do worse than we did last time, can we? So yeah, it'll be interesting
Hopefully
to see.
not.
No, touch wood.
Kev, I think Ten Hag will 100% go with that midfield, but would you keep it like that?
I wouldn't personally. For the comments I've just made about Bruno Fernandes, I think I'd go with a kind of Fred, Casemiro, which has worked. They played together for Brazil, with maybe Eriksen just a little further forward. But they could drop into a 3, but you've got Eriksen playing that little further forward. I just think he's on a different level to what Bruno Fernandes is. Eriksen, ball retention, he can play a ball, you know, a ball in that final third. If you've got the likes of Martial, Rashford, whoever he chooses, whether it's Antony, whoever, he'll be looking to thread them balls. I know Bruno is, but I just don't think it's working for him at the minute.
The only thing I would say on that, and it's a good shout, is that who is going to do all the running that Bruno does. Today, I know people might not be able to see it on television, but his pressing was, I thought, brilliant. Like, his game wasn't good, but his pressing was brilliant, his running was good. I just think he has to play simply for the work that he actually does, that people sometimes don't see. I think, is Eriksen going to make all the same runs in that position? But I do think it's a good shout. I'm thinking to myself, does the midfield need to be a bit more physical against City? What do you think?
I'm just taking into consideration it is Man City. It's a different kettle of fish, really, isn't it?
It is. Ricky?
I do get that. You do need your players working hard, and you need players that can run, lots and lots of running. But sometimes it's got to be channeled, that running. And for me, Bruno runs further than anybody else. But I'm not saying necessarily tonight. I'd need to watch it again. But I've seen many, many games where he's running out of position and leaving space behind, and he's the only one who's pressing. So he's a bit like, to be honest, a bit like a headless chicken at times. He's running forward and pressing. I've seen him on, you must remember it. I've seen him press goalkeepers. I mean, he's supposed to be in midfield and he's running up pressing goalkeepers, you know what I mean?
It's not the Olympics, is it? If it's track and field or whatever, he's getting a gold medal.
Completely, that has happened in the past, but I did think today it worked well. Antony's very good at doing it with him. Yeah. Martial's got a lot better, and Rashford's helping out too. They're getting much better at it. Before it was literally just Bruno, and it was like there's no point, but they are getting better at doing it together.
I agree that he works hard, and I'm not saying that he ran out of position tonight too often. But against City, we've got to stay in that game as long as we can. I would play with 3 proper midfield players who are not going to be tempted to run forward. And there's a time and a place to run forward. You know, if we get a breakaway, if we're playing with 2 wingers with pace, if we're playing with Antony and Rashford, and a ball gets knocked up the flank and they're chasing it, then somebody does need to join up with Martial, try and get himself in the box. So you need to pick your moment to go forward. So, but other players can do that as well. It doesn't have to be Bruno. If you remember, for example, against Liverpool, obviously a tough game, Eriksen made a run like that and created a goal, didn't he? He gave a tap into Rashford, didn't he? Yeah. So you need to pick your moments that you join in, and that's an exact point that I wasn't thinking of that when I was saying it, but that's an exact point. You know, you're on a break, and it's clearly going to be a chance here. So you've got to think, right, now I can go. So any player can do that. It doesn't have to be Bruno, because it doesn't have to be every time. Despite the fact that he's fit and he can do lots of running, point in question, Eriksen against Liverpool doesn't have to be so often. So you don't need to be necessarily super fit.
I think that has been an issue at Manchester United. You make that point there, because the press really should start from the front, shouldn't it? Yeah. So let's say it's Antony, Martial or Rashford or whoever it is. If it's been Bruno, like you say, and Bruno's breaking through past Martial, the gap that he's leaving then, it's huge. You know, teams can play through that. Yeah. The press really shouldn't start with Bruno Fernandes.
I do think that's something I massively agree with, and it has happened in the past. It's happened so far this season, but each game I watch, I do think that's something Ten Hag's really improved on. I think it's the forward line. It's not perfect by any means, but it's working a lot better. Under Ollie, he generally did used to be just Bruno, and then there was a lot of space. I do think it is improving.
You didn't get any pressing from
today
Ronaldo,
I was looking.
did you?
Today I was looking at and with Ronaldo as well. Today I was looking at Bruno was making up for Ronaldo's lack of pressing. It just wasn't working. But today I was looking at it and I thought they were doing it quite well. If you notice, we actually got nicked the ball off Everton quite a few times through pressing and closing it down. So I think it is improving there.
I'd go with, against City, my 3 midfield players, without any doubt, would be McTominay, Eriksen and Casemiro.
You play McTominay over Fred still?
Hear me out, express instructions that we sit deep, a low block as they call it these days. Let City have the ball in their half. We don't need to keep pressing them, certainly for the start. Let's try and reach half-time 0-0. If we get a breakaway and get a goal, fantastic. But let's try and reach half-time 0-0. Now, obviously, Martinez is going to play. We're not going to have Harry Maguire. Haaland, 6'4", big defenders. Haaland scored an header from a corner in the last derby. We need somebody defending corner kicks who's 6'4". McTominay has got to play, in my opinion.
It'd be tough for me because when I think about it, I'd be still tempted to go with Casemiro, Bruno and Eriksen because that's just the way I am. But I know I probably shouldn't. But if there was one player I'd take out, even though Eriksen's been great, it would be him. Just for me. But it'd be a tough call to make. But I think Fred would be good to kind of be like nippy. But I get what you mean about McTominay with his height. The only thing about McTominay, we'll have to see. It's the minutes as well, but we'll have to wait and see. Anthony Tracy says, Bruno and Felix in the same team, is that too similar? I mean, Charlie, you have done that analysis video on Scout Report on João Felix earlier this morning. Do you think they're too similar?
I mean, they play in different roles, don't they? They play together for Portugal, but again, João Felix was playing on the left for Portugal in the World Cup. Bruno was finding himself on the right. So I don't know if they're too similar, because I think João Felix is almost similar to Martial in the way that he drops deep and links up play like that. And Bruno doesn't really have, Bruno used to do that, didn't he? He used to drop in deep and try and make things happen when you had the likes of Fred and McTominay. But now, because we have Eriksen and Casemiro, he doesn't need to do that. He can, if Martial drops deep, he can go forward. So no, I don't think it would be, they'd be similar. I think they would work well.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that. Ricky, João Felix, what are you thinking about that being linked to him? Is he the right sort of player?
He's a good player. I agree that he's similar in some ways to Bruno, but we often put Bruno wide right. You've just mentioned that João Felix playing on the left for Portugal. So if we sign him, is he going to get in the starting lineup? He's not going to take Rashford's place on the left. Is he going to take Bruno's place at number 10? Obviously, I won't be against that, but a lot of others would be. And he's not. I don't think he's going to take Martial's place at number 9, is he? As I always say, you can only play 11. Yeah, so if we sign him, and I know we do have rotation, Beth, and we will rotate on Tuesday night, but he does generally. He's got pretty much his team in his head. I think if we played a cup final tomorrow and us four all named what we thought the team would be tomorrow, give or take one player, we probably all named them exactly the same team. Yeah. So we know what his team is, don't we? You know what I mean? So where does he fit in? He's not. Is he going to be happy not to be in the starting lineup? Because I don't see where he fits, unless he does go at number 10 and Bruno goes to the right, or Bruno gets dropped. Because we played Bruno. I mean, Van der Beek got injured. I believe it's a year, is it?
Yeah, it could be.
But Van der Beek's been getting games at 10, whether it's been 20 minutes here and half an hour there. Then he gets one start, and then that happens to him. But Bruno has been pushed out to the right a few times for Van der Beek to play, whether it's a sub role or whichever. So if he comes in, maybe Bruno will find himself on the right again.
I do think he would play. I think he would start, and I know.
In which position, Beth? And for who?
I know it's not good to play players out of position, but I think he would take Antony's spot right now.
He'd have done a better job this evening.
Yeah, and I know people say Felix doesn't play on the right. He can play on the right. He can play there. Rashford can play there. I like Rashford on the left, do not get me wrong. But also, there's a lot of games. We've seen him subbing Martial. It's 70 minutes each time. There's going to be game time for him. And I think with João Felix's talent, he'd push his way into that team somehow. Can't exactly tell you what it would be. but I do think he'll definitely play. There'll be a reason that we're going to go and get him. And Ten Hag, usually when he gets players in, they do seem to play. So, I mean, whether we get in this January, we'll have to wait and see. But looking towards the Charlton game, I mean, I think it's 1 loss in 17 games now for United, which is brilliant. Charlton, do you expect the likes of HAG'S to play? What kind of... We know it will probably be a weakened team, but how weak will it be? And looking forward to the derby, is it important to get a good win under the belt and keep this momentum going?
Yeah, of course it is. I personally don't actually think it will be that weak, really. I don't think, whether David De Gea starts in goal or it's Butland, whoever, it kind of irrelevant, I'd say, who kind of plays in goal. I think your back four can go back to your Wan-Bissaka, Maguire, Lindelof, and then probably Malacia again.
Not bad, is it?
Which isn't, I mean, you're not throwing kids in the mix. It's still completely more than enough to keep a clean sheet against Charlton. And then, we're kind of lucky in the sense that we have players that haven't played that many minutes. So you could go with a midfielder, Fred, McTominay, and then if you wanted to throw an Iqbal in there, then I'm not against that. But again, you could play Bruno, you could play Eriksen. There's
Bruno's
options.
Suspended.
Oh, he is. Sorry, yeah. So I guess Eriksen, and then you can front three. You can Elanga, Garnacho, Rashford. We have got options. We have got the luxury of that. So I don't personally think it will be that weak in the sense of just a bunch of players kind of handpicked and chosen between like the kids and the experienced ones. I think we'll still put out a pretty strong team because it's important for the momentum. Yeah,
I agree with you. I think it'll be basically the bench players I think Wan-Bissaka will probably play, Lindelof and Maguire. I'd say Malacia, McTominay, Fred, Eriksen potentially, because we don't really have anyone else to play at number 10. And then you're probably going to have Garnacho. I think Martial will play again to kind of, to keep his fitness going.
Needs a goal, doesn't
and
he?
Elanga will probably play as well on the right. So that's not...
We have a strong squad to pick from, so yeah, whatever team you throw out, really, it's...
See, people say we've got quite a weak squad depth, but that team should be able to do the job against Charlton, don't you think, Kev?
Should do.
Yeah, but they are League One. We have got to remember that, that aspect.
I always say, remember MK Dons.
You have to give them a bit of respect as well.
No, but what I mean by that is the fact that we've got a strong squad in the sense of we've got a strong squad that can go and play a League One side. And, we haven't got a strong squad in comparison to
Who did they knock out? They knocked a Premier League team out in the last round, didn't they?
Charlton.
Couldn't tell you off the top of my head. No idea.
They did on pens.
You have to show them respect that they'll bring a lot of fans to Old Trafford, and in theory, at this stage, this is their cup final. And I know you say it as a United fan, but they will come, and this is their moment.
Oh, they knocked Brighton out on penalties, actually.
Yeah.
Brighton are a good team, and I don't know what the full-strength team was out there, but Brighton have got good players.
As long as Charlton stay in that game, it goes straight to penalties now.
I think it will, that one.
It wasn't the full strength team, but they had a few first teamers in there. They did. So, I mean, by the way, don't get misconstrued. I don't think we have good squad depth to compete at the top of the league. But for a game like this, it's definitely...
It should be good enough.
Be able to put a good enough team out that can navigate through this tie.
Jocelyn Philander says, I see Phil Jones. I think he's right out of the picture, really. Rory C says, we need someone up top. That's surely not in the question. Can Welbeck do it? Martial can't finish, Ricky. I don't care about his runs. What do you think about that, Rick?
That's just not.
Do you care about the fact that the team's scoring plenty of goals since he's been back in the team, and we weren't scoring plenty of goals before he was fit?
He's trying to wind you up, Ricky.
Does he care about that?
There's no iron team, is there, Ricky?
No, there's no iron team.
Up there. But just to kind of round up the next segment of the show, I wanted to first of all ask you who your man in the matches are. I think we're going to be on the same page, but you never know, Ricky might throw something different in at the end. Charlie? Yeah,
I think Rashford, obviously, I guess it's 2 assists, right? Although it was an own goal, he kind of gets the assist for that as well, and then scores the penalty at the end. So yeah, I think, he worked hard and played really well. It's not just obviously a stats game, is it? So yeah, he's probably my man of the match.
Up to Casemiro coming off, I would have had him hands down. I thought he was head and shoulders above everyone. The general in the middle of the field. A tough game against Everton. I thought he bossed the midfield. But taking into consideration the fact he come off and Rashford went on to score his penalty, obviously, like you say, claimed this kind of assist off Connor Cody, then I can't say anything other than Marcus Rashford.
Yeah, he got the man of the match voted by the fans. Ricky?
Antony Martial. Centre forward, playing against 3 centre backs on his own. Getting the ball down, linking the play up.
I do understand that's not
linking the play up, playing great.
Shout.
It's
with
not
great runs.
It's definitely not a wild suggestion. I think if he would have stayed on for the whole game, he would have been up there with a shout.
Rashford was going to get it, wasn't he?
I
agree with Charlie.
He scored the goal.
That's a strange anomaly for me that you crash a ball across the box, it goes in off a defender. You're deliberately doing that.
Yeah.
And you don't get an assist. They don't get an assist for that, do they?
I don't think
but
so.
But to me, that's a genuine assist.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it should be because it's like if
it is one of your own teammates who goes in, you get the assist. But if it is one of theirs who goes in, you can't.
Yeah.
Ricky, people are asking in the chat if you had a few too many beers in the exec section. You've got a few people disagreeing with you here, but we love it. No, honestly, he would be in my top 3 players tonight. My top 3, but my man of the match would be Rashford. I think his running's improved massively.
It's difficult to argue with, but I do think Martial played well.
And he took your advice, Rick.
Yeah, and he crashed one across the box, like I said he should do last week.
Exactly.
Must be watching.
The good thing about Rashford today was, obviously Godfrey had the so-called better Haaland at the Etihad, and I think he obviously targeted Rashford today. It would have been easy for Rashford just to kind of, turn his head and whatever out of that game today, but I thought he rose to the challenge. He took a yellow card, Godfrey, and once he got that yellow card, Rashford knew he had him on toast basically. Every time he was running at him. And
I thought you could tell how scared they were of Rashford when he got the ball and was running at them.
The way they stepped off him.
Yeah.
The bite as well that he's introduced to his game, he's fighting for every ball and he's winning them. His strength, he's improved massively. Yeah. When he had that little bit of a tussle with, who was it? Was it Coleman? Was it Godfrey in that moment? My seats must be far away. I couldn't completely see who it was. But I do think that we've not seen from Rashford in a while. I like the fight in him. It's exciting. But looking towards the next few games, we've got Charlton, which should be a win, hopefully. We've got Man City, and then we've got Arsenal.
It's huge.
It's a huge defining moment of the season, I would say.
Yeah.
Huge defining moment of the season. It's a bit early to say, but because we've got a couple of minutes left, I'm going to ask this question. How many points can you expect in the next 2 league games with Arsenal and City? Charlie, you're first because you're closest to me.
How many points can we expect?
Yeah.
I'd be...
How many points do you expect?
Oh, blimey.
Put a number on it.
I'll go first.
2.
2.
So both draws then.
Yeah.
Kev?
4 I'm going for.
Going for?
Positivity.
Only because I don't want to tempt fate, and I would absolutely
Don't say 0.
I will absolutely love to be proved completely wrong and to be proved an idiot, if you like. I'm going to say 0.
Oh, come on,
come on, Rick.
City.
Have some confidence in the team.
I don't want to tempt fate. I'd love us to get 4 points or even 6 points.
Ricky's one of them fans that tells himself that we're losing before the game because it means that we win.
If we draw.
I'm one of them that gets really over the top and gets really excited.
You have a big crash,
You get crashed. Today we went 1-1. I was like, it was end of the world when I was sat in my seat. But anyway, you've heard it here first. We've got 2. We've got 2. Yeah. We've got 4. We've got 0.
I'll go 1.
You're going with 1.
Change it to 1.
Take it to 1. You're going to want the camera on me for this one. Thank you everyone for watching the show. I'm going to go with 6. How about that?
Title chance. We're going to win the league.
No, I really.
Go on.
I want to go with 4, but I'm going to be different. The only thing left to say is 6. You've drove me to it. So we'll go with 6. Ended on a positive note, even though I was going mentally at 1-1 today. But we'll go with 6. Positivity, but. Thank you everyone for watching the show. Thank you everyone for getting involved and getting your super chats in as well. Everyone's absolutely killing themselves laughing at me in the comments now. Do you know what? I can take it. I've had a few of these moments on the channel before. But make sure you like and subscribe everyone. Get your comments in down below. And thank you to the guests for coming on. Charlie, Kev, Ricky, these studio fan forums are great with Old Trafford just around the corner. Coming over here to discuss the game is great. So hopefully going to the next cup game with another step closer to Wembley again and then take our winning form over to City in the league. Good run for United and hopefully it continues. But have a good night everyone. We'll see you on the next one.